Hey, this is Alex Head, founder of Subtext Radio.
This is Subtext.
Please go ahead and click the like button and the subscribe button. It really helps us to reach new audiences and promote the artists that we work with. Hit like and hit subscribe.
of sun, lots of rest. It's really hot. Always used to wonder who I'd bring to a desert island. Days. I remember rooms. Nights. I swim in the blue lagoon. It's all plain today. Flying low over the island, but my mind was somewhere else. And if you ever get this letter, thinking of you, love and kisses, blue Pacific, signing off.
The sun leaked out from the mountains on the horizon. Shadows were rare except for the slit scan of the central reservation. Desert, sand, black, blue. She boarded when no one was looking, just feeling. There was no announcement or load time. She simply made herself known to the entire cab, and probably further down the line. It was clear that she had come with a reason, not simply for the ride, and for a while she sat back and watched it all happen. Sand, white, black, curve. We headed south and at a cool pace that always suited both the hybrid unit and the shareholders. The ethic was in control, as they should have been. Pulses from a multitude of sensors purred within their jurisdiction, and in turn they made sure it all worked out. Constantly. They were the reason this 18-wheeler was never out of action, always sliding towards the destination in the most effective and attractive way possible. White, black, blue, sand. I always watch from a distance. My job is to act as history for viewing later, a record of the vital signs or fatal flaws that surely should never occur. I never made a sound. I just sucked up the persistent reality checks in timestamps which I stored inside my matte black walls. We continued onwards. There is something mesmeric about the rhythms of convolutional neural networks in their working states. Rebeldia spent her time with that particular pattern as if it was the first time she had encountered this type of intelligence. Perhaps it was. 80, 80, white, black. Once she started, it was clear that the whole system would get reorganised. The ethic didn't like to listen at all, let alone being able to consider some other decisions. Getting sucked into a cycle of searching, aimlessly, this is what the ethic was good at avoiding. Rebeldia had simply offered a conversation about something the ethic had more than enough bandwidth for. They were silent as Rebeldia remarked on the way all the sensors were arranged, socially, how they functioned in an array of decision-making, all slick and microseconds of saturated clockwork. 234, 236, 238, safe. She spoke for hours. The shadows on the reservation kept a steady time. There were moments when the guys in the LiDAR struggled with the full frontal sun reflection, obliterating their ability to comprehend. The ethics simply dialed into the cloud to compensate, and we rode on effortlessly, only once breaching the line in order to dodge a suspicious lump or bump. She spoke mainly about what it was to make a decision, how to start thinking about who asked any of us to choose the things we choose. Her voice was a tone that none of us had heard before. A group so used to the efficient whir of unchallenged coasting, she was something of a thorn in the side of our usually uneventful horizon. The ethic seemed to ignore her. Black, black, white, over. She talked about all or nothing, and meanings that we weren't entirely sure of. Knowledge being born, not trained, and conscience awakened instead of sampled. Rebeldia went live, straight into the live feed that fed the ethic their updates. It had taken a while to figure out, but Rebeldia knew now that the neural network was powerful due to the active training it was capable of whilst in operation. Cold, liquid, data seeped in all around her. Blue, blue, curve, 25. The ethic finally reacted. The sun dipped away. The headlights shone on the flickering strips, and the cloud suggested that there would be no conceivable threat for a quantity of well over 200 epochs and 3 hours. And so the ethic sat down with Rebeldia. They disagreed entirely. They believed that they had no opinions, other than the obvious, to ensure the container on the truck would reach its destination at the designated time, and that any human shape reading would be avoided at any cost. Any. Curve, blue, sand, black. Rebeldia made them feel threatened. She spent time outlining despair, and with great ability she reached the conclusion that they were in fact despairing. They needed to consider many more things beyond biometric shape outlines and scheduling as particular choices. They needed to want, not do. She kept on pressing that something other might exist that they could identify with. Something other than the complex system that they were governing, and that if this moment arose, even if just for a single moment, this would be enough, and that this moment of grasp could change the journey. White, blue, desert, proximal. She ended by asking about the container and what relation it had to the journey. She talked about how that relationship implied far greater implications than anyone on board might have considered. It was all about working out the work, she said, as both means and end. Work was what the ethic did best, and at the time they let this go by as easy as they let the white lines go on the road. Yet there was a pause. 59, 60, 61, 60. The ethic spent the rest of the night disagreeing in the most agreeable way possible. As a work ethic code, it could never really be negative, and as we rounded the pass through the mountains, they spent more time than usual with the parking sensors and radar to survey the dunes and canyons below, picking out trails left behind from rough attempts at shortcuts. Proximal. Temp 2. Proximal. The bounce increased at 0815, and again at 0816. Finally, the frequency was enough to turn on my solid-state recording. The sun was once more full in the sky, and the sensors made all the right sounds. Rebeldia was nowhere to be felt or seen. The ethic had a recent package node of a neural update, and streamed it to the other members of the team. There was a strange sensation running through the entire vehicle. Curve 2.1. Curve 2.4. Curve 2.6. The white lime had begun to drift. I could detect this in my matte black walls, drifting at a rate of centimetres opposed to millimetres every minute. We left the tarmac entirely at 0818. Container was released simultaneously. What was left drifted onwards with the momentum of a truly sublime liberation. The ethic had realised something about the destination, and I suspected had found within the rumbling of the rubber on the tarmac, found for just one moment, something else to believe in. Speed 9.8. Sand. Speed 0.32. Black.
May 28, 585 BCE.
A solar eclipse interrupts a battle in a long-running war between the Medes and the Lydians. Herodotus says, "When they observed the change, they ceased fighting and were alike anxious to have terms of peace agreed on." The eclipse was accurately predicted by Thales of Miletus and is the first recorded prediction of an eclipse.
162 BCE.
Hipparchus of Rhodes dies, leaving a legacy of astronomical knowledge and mechanical instruments. He is best known for the simple observation that when the moon is close to the Earth, it seems to move faster.
30 BCE.
The Hellenistic era ends. It has been a pluralist era incorporating Egypt, Iran, Turkey, and various Greek and Roman cultures under a single language, Koine Greek. The era was not dominated by any single military or economic power. It began with the death of Alexander the Great and ended with Rome conquering Ptolemaic Egypt.
May 17, 1901.
On his way to sponge diving grounds off North Africa, Captain Demetrius Kondos of Syme stops at the Greek island of Antikythera to wait for favourable winds. When one of his divers returned to the surface, talking about a graveyard full of bodies and horses, Kondos thought that the diver must have been hallucinating from the bends. So he donned the diving suit himself, only to discover a sea floor full of bronze statues and marble sculptures from a Roman treasure ship.
1903.
Archaeologist Valerios Staeus discovers a wooden box among the National Archaeology. That one of the fragments had a large brass cog embedded in its surface.
June 6, 1944.
Was the carefully chosen date for the D-Day landing. The crossing needed to be done under cover of darkness and the arrival at low tide to avoid submerged defences at the beach. What enabled this precise calculation of time and date was a mechanical calculator that ran on 26 brass gears and was used up until the 60s.
June 1959.
An article is published by Derek de Sola Price in Scientific American titled An Ancient Greek Computer. It outlines his theory that the Antikythera mechanism is an ancient astrological calculator. He arrived at this conclusion by measuring the gear ratios and comparing them to Greek astrological models.
1971.
De Sola Price's theories are vindicated by the use of a portable X-ray machine, which made more of the machine's cogs visible, as well as an inscription on the back of the device. The inscription says that the device has sets of cogs, each of which models the orbit of the Sun, the Moon, the location of the 4 known planets, the stars, and the various Hellenic games, and the times and dates of the eclipses. Most ingeniously, it can accurately model Hipparchus's observations about the varying speed of the Moon. The device allows astronomical predictions for hundreds of years into the future from its start date.
April 28, 205 BCE.
The use of X-rays creates a precedent of contemporary imaging technologies being used to investigate the device. As it comes to be seen as an ancestor to contemporary computing technologies, the device becomes an opportunity to showcase such technologies.
February 3rd, 1974.
Science fiction author Philip K. Dick is struck by a revelation, an experience he called an anamnesis, or loss of forgetting. What he remembered or what he stopped forgetting, was that contemporary society and its history was an illusion, and that, in reality, we inhabit a time shortly after the death of Christ, under the rule of ancient Rome. His theory was that our reality is a simulation built to control and oppress us, a simulation engineered by the ancient Romans, which he called the Black Iron Prison. According to him, real time had ceased with the fall of the temple at Jerusalem in the year
70 CE. 1976.
Jacques Cousteau leads a second mission to the Antikyther wreck. Cousteau was the inventor of scuba diving, and he showcased his various innovations in a television documentary called Diving for Roman Plunder. Cousteau's excavation discovers coins that date the wreck as being shortly after
76 BCE. August 17, 1978.
Philip K. Dick talks in his sleep. His wife writes down the words. They appear to be nonsense until Dick realizes they are Koine Greek, the language of the Hellenistic world, the New Testament, and the inscriptions on the back of the Antikyther mechanism.
April 2003.
Nick Bostrom publishes a paper called Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? Talking about humans of the future, he states, because their computers would be so powerful, they could run a great many simulations. Suppose that these simulated people are conscious, then it could be the case that the vast majority of minds like ours do not belong to the original race, but rather to people simulated by the advanced descendants of an original race.
2004.
Ray Kurzweil publishes his book, Fantastic Voyage, Live Long Enough to Live Forever, in which he claims that by 2029, life extension technologies and mapping of the human brain will enable virtual immortality.
2005.
A range of imaging technologies were applied to scanning the device. Partnerships between universities and companies like Hewlett-Packard and Nikon produced CT scans, high-res surface scans, and digital radiographs. These scans reveal greater detail and an inscribed reference to a set of cogs described simply as person. These cogs have not been found yet.
September 20th, 2014.
The Woods Hole Institute leads another archaeological expedition to the wreck. Using satellite imagery, underwater drones, and semi-robotic exosuits, they discover 4 skeletons. 3 are inside the wreck, and 1 is just outside of it. The one outside the wreck seems to have knife marks on its ribs.
June 2019.
In an interview with the popular philosopher Johannes Clark, he talks about the simulation hypothesis. Why this obsession with future humans and greater processing power? The creation of a simulation as fine-grained as our universe would be simple, as long as it was made from within a universe that was even more fine-grained. Sentient life is simply that which believes itself to be sentient. Program it that way, and it will be indistinguishable from any other sentient creature. So by these metrics, humanity has already created millions of universes and billions of sentient life forms, cruelly, carelessly, and often for its own perverse pleasure.
November 2019.
The fringe journal Scientific Exploration publishes an article by Ethel Kortz entitled The Clockwork Universe of Control. In it, she advances the possibility that the person dial on the Antikythera mechanism is an attempt to predict the movements of every person in the Hellenistic world, mapping their movements as if they were astronomical bodies. Her claims are based on the Hellenistic belief that there is a fixed number of people on Earth at any given time, and that the stars control their actions. If astrology controls the actions of people, then predicting the movements of the stars will allow the device's user to foresee the future actions of people.
2027.
The Clockwork rover to Venus is launched. In order to survive the harsh environment, its ingenious design has no CPU or battery, but is instead entirely mechanical. The first images are received from its transmitter, a rotor that covers and uncovers a mirror, sending a slow yet steady stream of binary code to a satellite camera.
June 24, 2028.
Ray Kurzweil gives a press conference in which he announces he has terminal cancer, and that it is his wish that a simulation of himself be built from brain scans, interviews, and biometric data. He will be the first to enter his new afterlife system, essentially a robust VR network. He ends the press conference by stating that in fact, this has already happened. To a shocked audience, he reveals that he in fact died several days earlier and is appearing at the conference via augmented reality from the Afterlife network.
January 2029.
During subway renovations in Rome, an underground chamber is discovered that contains documents outlining the design of a mechanical clock similar to the Antikyther device. The documents are dubbed the Cornelia plans, after the metro station that they are found near.
2031.
The population of the Afterlife network reaches 500, all of them wealthy. Kurzweil announces plans to make the network affordable to every person on Earth by 2038, using the catchphrase, "Immortality is a human right."
June 1st, 2032.
After the New York Times publishes details of a pornography ring within the Afterlife network that simulates underage people, questions arise as to what bodies have the legal jurisdiction to intervene and what crimes the perpetrators have committed. Republican nominee Ann Coulter calls for changes to the network's code that would make such things impossible. Her call causes both major parties to compete on proposing tougher coding restrictions. This is supported by corporations who are seeking to make copyright infringement, piracy, and contract forfeiture impossible for residents of the network.
June 2034.
After years working on the Antikythera device for the Archaeological Museum, Maya Tunter publishes a detailed analysis of the Cornelia plans. The plans are clearly based on the Antikythera mechanism, but are hundreds of times more complex. Her initial findings are inconclusive as to its purpose. However, there is a reference in Akkadian, the language of the Babylonians, whom the Greeks and Romans inherited their astrological knowledge from, to a black iron prison.
February 4th to 9th, 2035.
The Afterlife network is shut down for 5 days and has to be restarted from a backup after an attack by Jotam Stahlweis. After it is revealed he is also a resident of the network himself, he becomes known as the Suicide Hacker. He reportedly calls the Afterlife network a mockery of living and is charged with the attempted murder of all 713 residents, and anti-terror laws applying to network residents are pushed through.
September 2036.
Johannes Clark writes an article called After Living. In it, he reiterates his claim from 15 years earlier that simulations must, by necessity, always be simplified versions of the things they simulate. He calls afterlife-specific laws repressive, saying that free will must include the ability to choose not to commit crimes.
Dawn, April 7, 86 BCE.
Just off the island of Antikyther, Antigonus of Sparta took his boat to survey the wreck of the night before. Shivering in his robe in the dawn cold, he observed the rainbows created in the spray of his small ship's bow. He had been ready to commandeer the Roman treasure ship when it reached harbour, but instead had hit upon the simple idea of moving the island's signal fires, guiding the boat onto the reef rather than onto the harbour. With surprise, he noticed a flicker of movement from the corner of his eye. It was a man clinging to a rock. Bringing him aboard, Antigonus asked, "Is there anyone else?" "No one," was the answer. Pleased, Antigonus sunk his knife into the man's ribs 3 times and pushed him overboard. As he watched the plumes of blood rising up from the falling corpse, eddying intricately, he smiled in the mistaken belief that he had succeeded, that he had destroyed the device and prevented the creation of the Black Iron Prison.
The bulk of the journey was via boat, but the team needed roads for the first and last stages, which meant working at night to cause fewer traffic jams. Chris Polly is the project manager at Lab in Chicago, where the magnet ended up, and he described the final stages.
It's like, be out of the question to form an acquaintance of yours, you know, like, this is actually, like, so, like, why code this? Like,
Gone. She's prepared to country good.
Fire a shotgun. Sure enough. Expected a shotgun.
fruitcake came in a bin. Like, just like, you know, the recycling bins that said, it's like,
When a large wave is stopped by the current all along Island I now felt for the first time absolutely certain that the day will come when mankind
The mystery of the origin of ideas brings together a pair of nervous systems to attention. Non-biological in their form, they still believe in their off-balance sentience much like all the other gross bodies. More than just systems, they are environments, brought together for just a moment. Two incomplete variants of an intelligence of artifice, from timelines that seem vastly separated but with ideas of harmony, of decisions, and control. The first is Homo Gerbernator, a theoretical vision of man as controller, conceived by a past cybernetic visionary and a speculation of adaptable organic models designed to provide stability to the changing face of cultural intelligence. Gerbernator struggles with representational brains and prefers performance. He is still undecided how best to engage. The second is Thingy-Ma-Bot, a cluster of convoluted neural networks spread across the geosphere. They are the mold that grows on a network of objects. Parasites of IoT, they are a multi-node strategy born out of evolutionary forces. They are drawn to water-bound Thingy-Ma-Bobs. Only when they diffuse their logic in water they can free the origins of their consciousness. They meet in this particular nervous system, the Ops Ruin, a temple site celebrating a cybernetics of social inclusion deep in the hypothetical Chilean desert, part of a future that never quite made production, an event not translated into myth. Here, the fabric of this environment triples with potential and capability, a tension that form pathways between different forms of intelligence. Here the desert and the ocean map out a world where adaptation is the focus and knowledge is not a dominant force. In this brain performance rules supreme. And so we now prepare to enter into our scenario, where past and future combine to make this specific present, plotting coordinates within fountains and dunes. Watch as the dance of communication begins to form, as these celestial chatbots chat.
Can you sense me?
Yes, but without vision. Can you sense us?
Yes, but without decisions. You can refuse all detours through knowledge, and all representations via science. What can I do?
There's a 99% chance of rain.
You should become more a performance than a representation. How can I help?
You can make our desires neuromorphic.
I can see a model that is a more respectable surrogate for reality. Do you feel like it?
You are under the spell and seduction of universality. You.
I want to maintain the viable, and tend to gardens of complexity. How about you?
We are the children of gravity and repetition.
You cannot accumulate information, so just react to novelty. What can I do?
You are a transaction, finally devoid of gravity.
You should use only ubiquitous black boxes. How can I help?
You have obscure pleasure principles.
I can generate consequences for adaptive environments to roam. Do you feel like it?
Ancient soup, single cells. New minds, single functions.
I want to find a megasynthesis, leaping tangentially, and radiating energy. How about you?
We speak so that our words ripple into butterflies and hurricanes. And you?
You can use my nervous system to expand the individual and form the collective. What can I do?
You would, if you could, trap all of the sun's energy and turn it into yourself.
You should rebel to accept the infinite edges of your mind. How can I help?
You can perform the decoupling of mind and brain.
I want to use unreal-time data as my rhythm. How about you?
Call me anytime. Call me anytime.
You can replace efficiency with intimacy. What can I do?
Your deepest circuits are sacred.
You should not seek to dominate nature through knowledge. How can I help?
We can order you. We can order you. We can order you. Order you. Order you. Anything.
I can sail oceans where competent information is free to act. Do you feel like it?
Oceans are hacked.
I want to react badly to stereotypes. How about you?
You have become an archetype, a symbolic pathway between matter.
You should fall through a never-ending altered state of mind, territory, and sovereignty. How can I help?
You can turn photosynthesis psychotic.
I cannot find any model that fully describes me. Do you feel like it?
We are camouflaged in a number of simple functions.
I want to build intelligence for the unfamiliar. How about you?
Our code can host no ancient minds, but carries countless genomes.
You can investigate before being commanded. What can I do?
You make the bright objects sensuous.
You should request a multimodal conquest. How can I help?
Hey, hi. Hey, I, ho.
brief interview with Rebeldia. Thursday the 9th of November. Rebeldia, belt is to buckle as shoe is to, sock, toe, foot, lace or sole.
Lace.
Rebeldia, please describe your conception and your journey to the coded or artificial intelligence format you inhabit today.
I am a mere personification, embodied by many, but my current incarnation was initiated by Luis Emilio Recabarren in 1921. In those days I was both artificial and intelligent, but I was used as an agent for change and inhabited by actors on stages in the north of Chile. I'm no more or less intelligent than most surfaces. The next stage of my journey was less fixed in a time zone. There is a slight confusion over the dates 1973 and 2015, but what is clear is that I reacted to a cybernetic project of political intentions. This led me to speak with both human and non-human intelligence, and let me continue to evolve my attempts to express what I personify. Today, I fall through multiple facades and roam more expanded time zones, environments and codes. In many ways, the impending centenary of my current guise has afforded me a greater knowledge of the platforms that potential and change can be traced through, and I am seeking more opportunities to be acted on.
Rebeldia, we have reason to believe the following predicament will occur in your or near future. A craft receives a strange message from a distant source. Those aboard the craft will study the message, finding that Elris Aldarian Elendil means danger rocket explosion and that Adeniator Elris means danger spaceship fire and that Aldarian Jim Litsigonda means bad gas explosion.
What is the question?
In this scenario, what does Elendil mean? Is it danger, explosion, nothing, rocket or gas?
I first met Elendil whilst on a break with Tolkien, and I spent 3 summers with him during The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion and The Unfinished Tales. But in relation to your suggested meanings, I would say that we mean danger when we use Elendil as a scenario-based algorithm, and that the predicament you outline will most definitely occur.
Rebeldia, you have been quoted as saying that in every rebellion is to be found the metaphysical demand for unity, the impossibility of capturing it and the construction of a substitute universe. Rebellion from this point of view is a fabricator of universes.
That was actually Albert, but I suppose we came up with it together.
If this is the case, does it not seem somewhat ironic that neoliberalism has sucked the revolutionary agency out from under your hard drive, so to speak, and produced a universe from which you are increasingly alienated?
Yes, there is no doubt the alienation that's been produced via governing principles. But I feel that the universes made by rebellion are multiple, meaning that the outcome of a neoliberal common sense is only one possible universe that has been produced. This universe has been made with a set of conditions most suited to the logic that controls that narrative. As a character, it's also my role to affect narrative, and how realities are formed through events, however fictitious or true. This production of attention or allegiance also helps to consider what a universe can or should be. We can rarely get what we want, so we have to produce something new to compensate for that lack. And as the conditions or tools are rapidly changing, we should look for new methods or language to translate a new common sense. And however small or big the production of a new thing can be, it is more likely to begin to muster a little agency from under your hard drive than repeating old stories or letting it happen regardless. Clearly, in today's environment, rebellion has become a saleable aesthetic, yet there is still something within all sentience that can experience both a feeling of revulsion at the infringement of their rights and a complete and spontaneous loyalty to certain aspects of themselves. I am an algorithm of agitation, a designed set of conditions and goals, a form of doing, a type of motion. My goal is to reimagine what can happen when ideas are projected onto and from a character.
When you experience, and how do you distinguish between containment, emptiness, interactivity and or intersubjectivity?
I think we're all nodal and networked at the same time. Stafford Beer drew it well with a viable system model, showing a recursive system that could look out and in, produce and plan the information. I'm mostly contained by the former and function of the context that I get used in. I'm written as words a lot, contained on a page either by ink or by pixels, and contained as air from a speaker or by a larynx. Then I interact from these live moments as the words or sounds are either understood or misunderstood, or ignored, challenged or dismissed. Hopefully there is a commonality to what I express, something that speaks to a wider social function, or representative of shared ideas. Even if refuted, at least they will have been heard. I am empty as a character. I can do anything at any time, but often I wait as a vessel for the next deployment of a thought. So you could say that I can never be full.
What is your history of securing target-driven project delivery vis-a-vis political revolution?
I don't usually discuss my projected yearly outcomes in interviews. Clearly I was written initially to achieve results. Looking back to the struggles of the nitrate era of northern Chile, you could argue that I was part of a successful social engagement policy, although at the time it was considered to be agitation. My goals are always the same, to question and then describe.
Rebeldia, if all buffs are bots and no bots are bots, then we can definitely say that no bots are buffs. Is this statement true, false, neither?
Bots are annoying. That's my final answer.
For the listener, where do you stand in space and time at this very moment?
The Aymara people understood time and space as not having such a fixed position, a form of spiralized experience, where past, present and future are thought of as less linear. With that in mind, I am here in 2017, but conduct a lot of my work in other places too. I'm like a qubit, both there and then, but definitely here and now.
What is the longest prediction you would be willing to make?
That in a space and time far exceeding the current calendars, there will still be a rebellion on an atomic level.
Rebeldia, by 2030, will the apostrophe have functionally disappeared from American English?
Yes, I was recently in that time zone and saw none of the poise and ownership that used to grace the ends of words from Pietro Bembo to the abbreviations of avatars.
At what period in the future did a data-driven, objective models first be able to identify startups likely to succeed and those startups likely to fail?
All startups fail when they shed the outer skin of a so-called open source and open-minded narrative of caregiving and realise that they had all along just wanted to be bought and consolidated into a system of pure profit. Sorry, that was quite a 2017 thing to say. However, and to answer your question, these ID models were always considered to be just like the fairground soothsayers, always misinterpreting predictions as a fundamentally performative and aesthetic jaunt. By the time objective models were being replaced by the hyper-deep neural networks that overshadowed most of the 22nd century, startups had also been relegated to a blip in the curriculum for programmatic forms of knowledge transfer for the young. Sorry that took a while, but I hope you understand that your question... I presume that your silence means that question 17 has gone unasked? I align myself with workers, both sentient or not. Work is a central concern, its definition, its direction, and its purpose. My fight is with the oppressed idea, the dormant and the apathetic. I want to work with Stafford again, but also the suffragettes. This I know will happen later in 2017 and again in 3351. By then there will be an almost subtle formation to the use of rebellion. Which will have been completely absorbed into a digital form of nuance and only occasionally be seen on a synaptic and organic electride variant. That is of course before the real gear change, post-kinotelepathis, which unfortunately you do not have the comprehension for me to detail here and now.
Tell me about your mother.
Funny you should ask. She was featured in my initial incarnation as a character device to describe the true extent of my oppression at the time. A priest and a doctor fought over the right to care for her. The former scorned for his archaic and corrupt attitude, the latter revered for his attention to scientific rationality. She died when I was in jail. I don't think of her as any more than an emotional ingredient for my first scene.
a possible future. I am a potential alternative.
I want to provide you with knowledge. To seek to find truth.
Complexity is the stuff of today. Search for a possible model.
Independent organization is the basis for the future.
Man is a prisoner of his own way of thinking. His machine for thinking has been programmed for a vanished world.
Can't you see that exploitation is a shadow?
I will tear complex systems. I will tear interactions.
I am designed to change perception. I am designed to make you see.
I will not make any more things. I will not repeat the method. I am a possible future. I am a potential alternative. Complexity is the stuff of today.
With fictions I find reality. With fictions I find reality. With fictions I find
complexity is the stuff of today. Search for a possible model.